Now, last week we showed you part 1 of our interview with senior rugby player Alex McDeavit. This week we bring you part 2. Now we've talked a lot about the basics here of rugby, gone more into details about the players. Now let's get a little bit more into Point Park Rugby here. You guys are still a fairly young club, but you guys have really grown in just the past few years. You guys have gone from just basically a club to almost a team here on campus.
Exactly, yes. Well, when we started, it was spring semester of 2011, I believe. It was started by Lindsay Monaco. She was then a junior at the time. She started the club. She's played for many women's teams around the area, and she's also so she created the team. She got a bunch of all of her friends together. There was maybe 12 at first that started. They practiced every day, and basically it was just they went to the point. We didn't have field privileges, so we played at the point. And then the following year, more people joined. That's when I first joined. We had about 7 or 8 guys consistently showing up. You were actually there with us too, Chris, at that time. So you know what it's like, how it was when we started out. We played a few games, had to have a lot of help from other clubs to give us extra players so that we can play. Coming into last year, we had a bigger recruiting class, I guess you can say, when we went to the involvement fair. Recruited almost about 20 players, and then played twice in the fall, and then we had a full spring season. We had a couple tournaments, had a few games as well with just local schools, and then we came in 3rd place in our first tournament we ever. So that put like our name on the map, so to say, with other clubs. So that got us more contact lists. This past fall, we were invited to join a conference, so that was really big. We had a full season. Schedule and all, 7 games. We played all through the fall, and then now the spring, there's really no season. You just pick up your own games, a lot of tournaments, and that's just so everyone can play and get better. But it's grown unrealistic in the past 3 years.
Now, what is the hardest part really of recruiting? I mean, you really can't promise kids scholarships to come here. You basically have to pick a lot of people that already go here and a lot of people that have not really played this sport before. Your guys are getting really new green players that have never touched a rugby ball before.
Yeah, they don't even know what a rugby ball looks like, let alone know how to play. It's just we tell them to come hang out. We'll teach them the sport. It's very easy to pick up on once you play. You know, that's the best way of learning. You know, you teach them safety, you teach them a little bit of the rules, but the best way to learn is through playing, and we get them to try it out. That's all we ask. We ask you come to one practice. If you don't like it, hey, that's fine. But if you do, stick around with us. We have a lot of fun.
Now, what's the toughest part about gaining them that experience? You mentioned through gameplay, but sometimes you're just not going to get games. So how do you really find a way to get these players the experience so that when they step out onto the pitch, they're not in awe of the situation?
Well, with the past few years, not including this year, we didn't really have games in the fall. We had to do in-house scrimmages against each other, and you can only do so much with that when you're playing 6-on-6, 7-on-7. When a full match is 15-on-15. So we'd have to tell them that we're going to get games, we're going to get you the experience, but if you learn it now, the games will come easy. But now, since we have a schedule and we're in a conference, we're guaranteed games every fall. So that's going to help a lot with the recruiting, because people aren't going to get down on themselves and get like disheartened when they don't play.
Moving forward, where do you see the growth of Point Park Rugby going? I mean, just in a few years, they're already into a conference and almost like a full-fledged team. Where do you see this team being in just, for example, 5 years?
I just see it growing even more to having multiple sides, an A side, a B side, maybe even a women's team, because there's a lot of women that are interested, but they can't play with us during games. I mean, they're more than welcome to practice with us, but then again, they'll get disheartened when they can't play. They'll just practice and think, oh, we're only practicing for nothing.
Now, you've seen this team grow over the last few years. You've been a part of that whole progress. What does that mean to you to really be the cornerstone of what has been the founding and development of this team?
It's a great feeling. It's almost like I watched it grow from just being a bunch of friends kicking a ball around and tackling each other to now we go out and we have games, we have fans that come watch us. It's an unbelievable feeling.
Now, real quick here before we finish up here, Alex, do you see yourself continuing this game? I mean, once you graduate from college, do you see yourself continuing with these clubs that you've been playing with when you're not playing with the Point Park Rugby?
Yes, I would love to continue to play. I play for a men's club now whenever I'm not in season with Point Park. They're right in South Pittsburgh area. But I'd also like to maybe start an alumni team for Point Park. A lot of my friends are now gone that I started playing with, and we've all been interested in starting an alumni team and still staying in contact. A lot of the older guys still come around, and they'll help out at practice when they can. They'll come to the games whenever they can. So hopefully we can get like a little team together and basically start like how this club did. Maybe 6 or 7 alumni guys, and you never know. You can only grow.
And before we finish this up, what would you say was the best experience that you have ever gone out of this game, whether it's gameplay or life lessons as a whole?
My favorite memory would have to be when we beat West Virginia University, the Division I school. We played them last February, and we went to their field, and they thought we were just a joke. So we ended up coming off our shuttle, and we beat them 32-27. So it was beautiful walking off that field with a victory with someone that didn't think we could beat them.
All right, thank you very much for the time, Alex. Point Park Rugby, you heard it from him. They're just getting games in the spring, but in the fall they'll be back with their conference play as well. Once again, thank you very much for the time, Alex.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.
After our final break, the Case of the Week crew joins me to see who their favorites are to win the World Series.